theoretical versus conceptual framework. So we did talk in the 2 videos prior on the theoretical framework and then on the conceptual framework. And now I want to discuss the difference between theoretical and conceptual framework. By now it's probably clear to you too, but I still want to bring out those differences. Theoretical versus a conceptual framework. Theory informs a conceptual framework. Theoretical framework is the big umbrella of the theory, and can also inform the conceptual framework, right? So we have the conceptual framework is really how it fits with your study. The theory informs your conceptual framework, but it doesn't really have something to do with your study. It exists on its own. The theoretical framework also is the big umbrella for hosting the theory. Again, it exists on its own. It has almost nothing to do with your study. You're using it. The conceptual framework is your work of art. It is yours. You are designing it for your own study. And I think that is a main difference when we think about what is one, what is the other. The theory and the theoretical framework, as a consequence, they both exist independently from your study. You use them. You take this theory and you fit it to your study. You adjust or you interpret the theory saying, in my case, for example, my theory was saying that people become deviant when they don't have cultural goals to achieve, or they don't have means to achieve those goals, like they didn't go to school because they couldn't. So they become deviant because they still like the goals. They want to achieve those goals, so they figure out how to do so without going through the educational means. So they figure out how to become entrepreneur, for example, and so on. So in essence, the deviant theory was basically saying that for almost everything that we do, we have one function, the apparent function, and we also have a function that is not apparent, that is hidden, that is latent function of something, and that latent function is what exactly triggers us to do something or not to do something. And this is very obvious in deviance. The author that I used and the theory that I used was a deviant theory. It had nothing to do with parents or children or ADHD. I used that theory because to me that conceptualization that the author had about how everything that we do has an obvious function and a latent function, I believe he called them manifest function and latent function, it triggered my curiosity because I felt like a lot of children in United States were misunderstood by teachers and their parents and people around them. So I felt like when we give children as young as 6 or 7 years old hard medications to make them focus on schools, that's, apparently we are saying that they have some form of disability, but does that really serve a latent function, something that we are not talking about, like lack of time for parents, or parents who work too much and do not have time or attention to play with their children, to understand their children, to see what is at the root of these behaviors. And for nobody's fault, right? This is how the society is built. But you can see the relationship. The theory was on deviance and deviant behavior, but it spoke to me for my own purposes, for my own study. And anyone can do those types of relations. You don't have to have a theory for your dissertation that is in your discipline. You can find something from outside of the discipline. It won't matter. You need to figure out something that really speaks to you, that you understand, that you kind of, it's really grounded in what you think about the world. So theory exists independently from your study. Again, this is a very important piece of difference. You use the theory and you use the theoretical framework to serve you. In a conceptual framework, This is unique for your own study. Your conceptual framework is going to be different from a student who is using the same theory in their own study. Your conceptual framework is going to be different from mine. It's going to be different from anyone else. It is your unique conceptual framework that you developed. It's your work of art. It is your creations, so to speak. And I think it's very, very important when we have a theoretical framework that is a large something else where all the theories on that theoretical framework are hosted, and we have our conceptual framework, which is specific to our study, that puts everything in our study together, and it is informed by theory and the theoretical framework. Thank you.